Okay, welcome to the ThroBak Guitar Lounge Podcast, episode number 2. I'm John Gundry with ThroBak Electronics.
I'm Matthew Quail.
He's here with me. I'm owner of ThroBak Electronics. Matthew, you are the
Sales guru,
marketing director, international
in-house legal counsel.
Yeah, the in-house legal counsel.
And international relations. I have
international relations, being a Canadian. Well, you have dual citizenship.
I have dual.
Okay, so we're going to go over. We've got the topics all laid out here for anybody listening on the ThroBak podcast. We'll have some announcements that you're going to make, Matthew. Guitar industry news, tools and tips. I've got an interesting tool that I'm going to show everybody that's useful for guitar matters. The Guitargument, which was a big hit last week. We will have another heated discussion about the questions facing all guitar players of today that might raise the ire of some. This one is: broken guitar necks sound best.
Do you believe that?
I have 5 guitars with broken guitar necks, so I can't say, because we will do this Guitargument in random fashion, in the sense, I don't know if I'll have to defend that they're good or defend that they're pieces of junk. Anyway, after that, we'll have a cool down of this. We're going to call it the cool down. So the cool down is we'll actually discuss in less heated terms the implications of the Guitargument argument, and it'll be more thoughtful, less combative, but that'll be equally entertaining, hopefully. So after that, we'll go on to Matthew's amp repair. Matthew, you had an amp repaired that is now part of YouTube fame and lore, with Terry from D Lab, and we'll show that awful experience and the happy conclusion.
Result. Sure.
Then we've got what is it? An AI history. We did an AI.
That's gonna be good.
We did an AI history. Now this is.
Stay tuned for that, folks.
The first episode we had an AI history of the PAF. Matthew tasked ChatGPT to make an AI history of the PAF, and this week you have done what?
We've done a short history of the P90.
And listeners and viewers may not know it also that, again, among Matthew's many talents is he has taken a improv class. Mm-hmm. So you have improvised with, this is probably the most advanced improv of all time.
I would think in the guitar world, it probably is. In the guitar
world, you've improved with AI.
Yeah. You can ask it anything, so...
And you've done this in an entertaining fashion, but we have not seen it.
No.
This is going to be a world premiere for our listeners and viewers. Well, the viewers really. So go watch this on YouTube. We encourage that. But we only saw the first second of it. Stopped it. We rendered this thing today.
Yep. And hot off the press.
Hot off the press, and you will see it with us as it happens.
And also, no expense was spared in the making of this.
It cost $80.
Yes, $80.
All right. So after that, we'll do the YouTube Woodshed. I've got one clip that has the guitar tone that I like from the Nashville Heatwaves YouTube channel.
Okay.
And it's got a lot of cool stuff on it. I just stumbled across this, I guess YouTube fed it to me based upon what the other stuff I watch. And so I'll show that. That will be the show along with the outro. Matthew, what did you end up doing this weekend? We'll start this with a little banter.
Well, I traveled to visit family in Ontario, in the Toronto area. So we went. My wife's family's from Mississauga. So we traveled with my daughter on Friday, made the border.
No incidents?
There's no incident at the border.
Okay.
It was the traffic was very light.
You didn't get stopped you didn't have to pay any sort of
No.
mighty tariffs on steel?
No tariffs on steel, no tariffs on any, we weren't bringing, well, that's
Did
not
you
true.
bring milk across the border?
No milk, but I had 10 boxes of total breakfast cereal.
Oh my.
For my in-laws.
What's the breakfast cereal you bring back sometime that you left here? Crunchies or no?
No, Shreddies.
Shreddies.
Every Canadian boy will tell you what Shreddies.
Yeah. I like the Jersey milk chocolate bars.
I meant it where we went to the little store, and I didn't end up going, but I meant to get you some of those, so I'll have to put it on my list.
I was born very close to the Canadian border in Everson, Washington. And my mom still has fond memories of Canadian television. Well, my now passed away mom, but she had fond memories of Canadian television and Jersey milk chocolate bars.
What Canadian television did she like?
I don't remember. Well, I mean, I was born there, but I didn't live there long.
Did she like the children's programming?
She thought the children's programming was very good. Yes, she had specifically remembered that.
I wonder if she watched The Friendly Giant. Is it The Friendly Giant? It was The Friendly Giant was what was on television, and then there was Mr. Dress Up.
Yeah.
But that
I don't know.
Yeah.
I moved when I was not even quite one. So, okay. My weekend was spent figuring out how to get the podcast on every podcast platform available. I have done that.
Oh.
So let's go to the announcements.
Do you want to go to the announcement here?
Yeah, the announcements section of this is when the announcement is.
Okay, this is a big announcement for today. The ThroBak Guitar Lounge is now available on all major podcast platforms.
Yes, Spotify.
Including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
There's 20 or something.
A few of these, I think Amazon Music, it takes like a week to get it approved, so it might not be up on that yet, but maybe it will by the time this airs. But I did them all.
Also, if viewers and listeners have suggestions for the Guitargument section of the show or future Guitar Lounge podcast segments, you can leave those suggestions in the community tab of the ThroBak Guitar Lounge YouTube page. The
Guitargument is sort of like the now, I think you had told me that you used to like argue over like who the coolest guitar player was or best guitar was on the bus with like other guitar enthusiast kids.
Oh, absolutely.
So is this our adult version of this?
Possibly, yeah. No.
Can you remember some of those arguments or Guitarguments? The goal is to get this in the Webster's Dictionary of Guitargument.
Guitargument. Definitely the schoolyard. I remember having discussions because there was I had a classmate who was a big Kiss fan, and he thought that Gene Simmons was like a great bass guitar player. And I think by this point, if you didn't think that Geddy Lee was...
Oh, that's right, in Canada.
Geddy Lee was
probably.
But he was a diehard Kiss fan, so anything to do with Kiss,
okay.
If it was Ace Frehley for the guitar or Gene Simmons on bass, which... I like Kiss, but
maybe we'll get into subjects that deep. But this week again. We're going to start with broken necked guitars sound best.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Sound better. Okay, let's see. Any more announcements there, Matthew?
That's all I've got for announcements today.
Okay, so we will get right into the guitar news. Now, this is industry news, I guess. Industry news of the day that. Or just guitar-related news. So there is an announcement from The Who. They have their what?
They have announced their final tour.
Their farewell tour. How many farewell tours did they have? Because I know I went to one.
Well, I think the first one started in the fall of 1982.
I went to that one.
You went to that one? Where?
I went to the Pontiac Silverdome.
In Pontiac, Michigan.
So I went with my brother and a friend from high school, and in Pontiac, Michigan, and so we drove from Grand Rapids to Pontiac, and we got there, and of course I think it was sold out, and it was all general admission, and let's put it this way, the bathroom facilities were lacking, And there was basically one sort of row of shrubs at the beginning of the line to get in there outside that people were relieving themselves into. And it's like, well, it was a long drive.
And there was no Johnny on the spots. There was
nothing. And then we got in there, and it being all general admission, we got there reasonably early. And the lower level, we thought, oh, good, there's seats in the lower level, and they were all of the areas in the lower level were being guarded by angry, drunk guys in jeans with no shirts on.
How old were they?
You can't sit here.
Were they like older?
It doesn't look like anyone else is sitting here. You can't fucking sit here.
Now, were they your age or a little older or much older?
These were guys in their, I'd guess, late 20s, early 30s. I don't know. I was in high school. But anyway, ended up sitting on the very highest balcony off to the left. And I think my recollection of it was I think it was maybe one of the first that had the giant screen over the stage.
Right. Yeah.
Like a first big tour with that. Because I think after that, there was a Michael Jackson tour that had one.
Okay.
But I think it might have been one of the first ones. And my recollection is that tickets were $90.
Really?
Now, I think you pulled up one, but I think were they like $50? I think after fees and everything, though, it turned out to be like $90. So it was like historically expensive, too, at the time.
Yeah, I didn't. Now, when they came to the final show of The Who was supposed to be at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto on December the 17th, 1982. And that was supposed to be the final show. I think I looked up a ticket for that. And my wife went to that show. She was in high school. She won tickets through a radio station, went with her brother. And I didn't know her at the time. And then my brother went as well. He bought a ticket, or got it scalped. I think he got a single ticket, went down to Maple Leaf Gardens. I went into Toronto with him, but I just went over to my brother's friend's place, and it was all simulcast. And I guess it was simulcast across North America.
You actually have... You actually have a historic record of this in the ancient format of cassette tape.
The good old
just one
XL2 C90 tapes.
Just one step further than hieroglyphs on a wall.
But you
even showed them. You really went all out for this podcast. You have a realistic portable cassette player.
Well, I just have a little bit here. I can't play the music because that'll get us into trouble.
Well, you got the intro though. We can we'll set, because there was a video clip of a short video clip of the Silverdome show that I went to.
So I put this up to here. This is just this is a simulcast from.
Get ready for the great audio quality of a cassette tape
from the Toronto Chum FM in Toronto. This is from their simulcast. So let's see. We'll just play this. See what we get.
On Toronto's ultimate rock, Chum FM.
Chum FM. I actually think I may have heard that, because it was simulcast here as well. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it was around North America.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. There was a TV.
Yeah, it was
a pay-per-view, I guess.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now you said your wife, who you didn't know at the time, went to this. And
she won
told
tickets.
Me an interesting story. She went with her brother, and what happened to him?
Nothing happened to him. It was my brother.
Oh, it was your brother?
Yeah, my brother. I believe he got it.
He wasn't nice enough to bring you along, it appears.
Well, I think he got a single ticket. He was a big Who fan, and he'd seen them quite a bit at that period of time. But he was going to go to that show, and it's a good question. I don't know what he paid for his ticket, but he went to the show, and then he came over to where we were, the place where we were afterwards, and unfortunately, the guy behind him vomited on him sometime during the show.
That's a real rock and roll show.
So, I guess you've lived the life if that happens to you, but it didn't sound...
Hearing loss and need for certain cleanliness afterwards.
Yeah. But it got me thinking with The Who, next Monday on the 19th of May, this month, 19th, this coming Monday, Pete Townsend will turn 80 years old.
Well,
And when
good
he
for him,
when he performed his last concert in 1982, he would have been 37 years old.
30. That's so weird,
Isn't it?
well, it's great that he's still doing it, although this is their last one.
I mean,
Although when
that's what happened last time.
He needs a
So it got me thinking a little bit.
diamond-studded cane. He'll get
This
he'll do another tour.
this generation of guitar players and this generation of musicians, if you want to see them, I mean, a lot of people are still touring.
Yeah.
So the Who are going to tour in Europe, and then they're going to come to North America in August, and they finish sometime in September. They're not playing a whole bunch of shows. They'll play 2 shows in Toronto, but they're playing shows in North America. But Roger Daltrey is 81, 82.
Okay, you saw them also. You said you saw them. You saw them here in Grand Rapids.
I've seen them at the Van Andel Arena here in Grand
And
Rapids.
you said Roger Daltrey at the time was already getting a little bit crotchet. Well, I don't know if you'd say crotchety, but he was not happy with the audience.
Yeah, if he sees anybody doing any smoking or anything happening in the audience, because I think he's got bad asthma and he's got some breathing and lung problems, he got very mad at people in the audience and stopped the show.
Because someone lit up.
So I think that's what must have happened. We were up in the higher up, but I think someone on the floor level lit some smoke came out of that area, and he wasn't happy at all. But if you are interested in saying, I did a little work with AI. I asked it for a list of guitar players because
okay, go on.
So I asked it for a list of guitar players, and then it gave me living guitar players who are still playing, and then give me the top people.
Is this going to depress us all?
Maybe, but it's interesting at the same time. So my criteria was, I said, there's too many people here to go through this. So I said, okay, I went through and I said, you have to be 70 years old at the minimum, and you have to be on tour right now.
Okay, on tour right now.
So the list is actually
these are real guitar heroes.
These are real guitar heroes. These are people you can see this year or right now. And the youngest, I'll start with the youngest. The youngest I found was Angus Young.
And how old's he?
He just turned 70 on March 31st.
He's the oldest schoolboy in the world.
And they just played. They're on tour in the United States right now. They played Ford Field in Detroit a couple of weeks ago, and they're going to be in Europe in June, July, and August. They're in the United States until the 28th here in May. And then the oldest is Buddy Guy. How
old's he?
He's 88.
Wow.
He'll turn 89.
He looks pretty darn good for 88.
No, he does. And he is a great player. He'll turn 89.
You've seen him.
I've seen him.
I haven't seen him, though.
I've seen him at Lulu's in Kitchener, Ontario.
Okay.
In I think the mid-90s, like 95, 94, 95. And then I've seen him here at the Orbit Room. And that's, I think, the only place I've seen him. No, I saw him at the Cynthia Woods Pavilion in Texas, north of Houston. I saw at B.B. King.
Well, should we save some of these for the Guitar Heroes episode? Because we had discussed, there's an episode of, is there a guitar hero today? And if the qualification for a guitar hero of our generation was they would have to be associated with a band that had a top 10 hit. Wouldn't you say?
Yes. Yeah. Something you know.
Yeah. And I can't think of anybody that would have that status, if that's the criteria in recent
The only one
years.
I could think, and I don't know where his music kind of ranges, but it would be, but who is also known as a guitar player. I mean, because there's like a lot of people in the country realm and things, but they're more known as singers.
Like
and
Brad
performers.
Paisley. Maybe?
Brad Paisley. I was thinking of John Mayer.
Oh, yeah. I guess so. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
But there aren't dozens.
Not nearly as tough as the guitar heroes of our era, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, you go through.
No knock on John Mayer. Great player, but it's sort of a different classification now.
Yeah. No, it is. And it's because probably radio play's totally changed and record sales.
I was going to play a quick clip of the of the Silver Dome.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now let's see here. You can just see what a wonderful place that was to see a concert.
Now, what was the Silver Dome, so the people know?
The Silver Dome was a giant inflatable, sort of one of those inflated roof arenas.
And that's where the Lions
used to play.
Yeah, Detroit Lions.
Not air conditioned in any form or fashion.
No air conditioning?
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
I don't believe so. And I think it held like 80,000 people or something. It was a very large place, and one of those places where you go in and kind of sucks you in the door just a little bit because you can feel the pressure change walking in. Let's see here.
I played a Super Bowl there in the early 80s.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find out. Okay, here we go. This is a short clip that you found of that show. Well, a news report of the show. Gotta get on the right.
This was the scene outside the Silver Dome tonight, as thousands of fans, along with their bottles and cans, jammed the area to see The Who, Eddie Money, and The Clash. And this was the scene inside. There were fights tonight and some bottle throwing. Other than that, an orderly crowd to see really only one group, and that's The Who.
Well, there's Roger Daltrey throwing around the mic.
75 years.
Okay. Yeah, that was it. In all its glory.
And you said I asked you a question about it, and I said, well, what was the split between men and women at the show?
I don't think there were any women. And the Eddie Money was the first act on, and he was good. And he was popular at the time to do the Shakin' song and everything.
That was big.
And it was the Clash. And I was looking forward to seeing the Clash, and they were booed off the stage. They weren't bad. It's just I think that people were waiting so long.
They had enough.
That they had enough. And also, too, they had, I think they played Should I Stay or Should I Go and left. And they had a feedback problem.
Okay.
Like squealing, scorching feedback. And they were literally booed off the stage.
Did they play a few songs, though?
I think they just played a Should I Stay or Should I Go?
And that was it?
I think that was it.
And then was it a long break until The Who finally came out?
Yeah. It was very long for them to go on. Yeah.
Did they come on time, or was it?
I think they were late.
Yeah.
I think they were late coming on. It was they were good, but it was a long night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I've heard online, they said that it was kind of a rowdy crowd, but that it was a spirited show. It was considered a good performance by the band.
Yeah. Well, yes, it was rowdy. I got a terrible seat because I didn't want to get beat up. But okay, so we've talked about the Who here. So another guitar industry news thing is, excuse me, Gibson or Epiphone has announced a new variation, sort of Gibson Custom Shop, I guess. Not inspired, but I guess the Gibson Custom Shop has maybe played a role in the specs for these guitars. And they have Les Paul, SG, at least that's what I'm familiar with. I heard about these this week.
They're calling it the collaboration line.
Is that actually what they're calling it?
Epiphone Gibson Shop, Custom Shop collaboration line.
Yeah. And some of the details of this, I'll pull the Sweetwater a picture up online of this thing. Okay. And let's see. Bear with me. There it is right there. Okay, so they look nice. And some of the details I noticed from this are their Epiphone line seems. I mean, I haven't seen one of these in hand, but let's just read some of the specs. They have what they call a VOS finish that I'm assuming is poly. Mm-hmm. It looks sort of like it's just an unbuffed finish, or sort of a matte semi-gloss. Maybe a faded like finish, but maybe a little more than that. But they're calling it VOS. It says it has long neck tenon, solid mahogany body, AAA maple top. I don't know if that's maple veneer or if it's solid. I don't know. I would guess a veneer, but who knows? I don't know. 50 style wiring with switchcraft jacks, CTS pots, and Mallory capacitors. Custom shop tailpiece, which I think that means a lightweight aluminum one, or a lightweight zinc alloy one, and a new bridge and pointer knob. It has pointer knobs on there, and it says it has custom buckers, and I think it said the bridge was a new custom shop bridge. The bridge is somehow different.
The note I had that said it was a custom shop tailpiece.
Okay, yeah. I'm not sure what that means, but looking at these pictures, so I'll kind of blow that up. My sort of like complaint with, and it's not really a complaint because Epiphones for the price, I think they're a pretty good deal. Their previous incarnation of these that are less, but very often you've got plastic, like if you wanted to upgrade something, the parts like aren't quite the same size.
Right.
Like if, let's say you wanted to switch out the electronics, you'd now have to like drill out the holes for the pots and everything. And you have to, even for the switch, if you wanted to put a switchcraft jack in there, or if even the rings are different size and often have screws mounting them that are not the standard Gibson size for USA made stuff, which I never understood.
Well, I didn't know about these ones, but aren't they typically the Epiphones are a short leg base plate?
Yes, and a short leg base plate. So these appear from outward appearances to have sort of the same size screws that you would expect on a USA made one. And so I will be interested to find out, and I have not told you this, Matthew, but I purchased one of these today.
Oh, did you really?
Yes, I did. I saw a video about it this morning, and I thought I went to Sweetwater, and I'm like, we've already gotten questions about these last week. Someone called because they wanted to replace the covers on these custom buckers, and they were told that they had two different sizes for the covers.
Oh.
And I said, well, if they're USA made custom buckers, they would just be one size.
Yeah.
So there's this, now I've got this question mark. So I thought about, because I'm sure we're going to get more questions about this. So I thought I should have one in hand to see, does it have
a nut?
Well, I don't think it's going to have that, but does it accept long leg base plates? Mm-hmm. It says it has a long neck tenon. Will the rings be interchangeable with a USA made ring? Because I'm going to get these questions because people often buy these things to upgrade.
Right.
And you have one of the older versions of the Epiphone Les Paul, so I thought, well, I'll get this.
Yeah. No, I bought one at Guitar Center, and specifically I looked at it, and the serial number starts with an I. And I said, I took a picture of it, and I researched it, and I think it came from I'm pronounced it probably wrong. It's the Ichiban factory in South Korea. So it was made probably in the late 80s, early 90s, I think, in South Korea. So
yeah,
I just thought, well,
yeah, and that guitar, it's nice certainly for the price, but the rings you would have to start if you wanted to change the pickup rings, you'd have to fill holes with toothpicks to mount a new ring on there. It only takes short leg base plates. So I'm curious to see if this is more upgrade friendly than your typical Epiphone. Another thing, it's got the Epiphone. Let's see, can I get that
the Gibson?
In there?
You mean?
Or it's got the Gibson shaped open book look there, and the tuners look more like a Kluson tuner rather than the ferrules aren't quite what you would see from a USA made one, but they're at least they don't have the nut and the washer on there. So there are enough of things appealing about this that I thought. And that coupled with the fact that we're gonna have questions, that I thought, it's probably worth getting. So it'll be here tomorrow, maybe.
Wow. Does it say that they are USA made pickups?
They say custom buckers. I'm assuming they're USA made, but they say
Contributed by
Gibson Custom Shop. So, but if they are USA made, that's what I would assume. But what this guy was telling us on the phone didn't add up with USA made. Maybe he's got his wires crossed, but that's the other reason I thought I need to get it, because I need to know exactly what I tell people when they ask, will our pickups fit in these? Because it's very common for people to buy our pickups to upgrade a guitar like this.
Did you get a good weight?
It's 8 pounds, 8 ounces.
That's nice.
So yeah,
at the price they're asking, do you get a?
Is what I got.
You get a hard case with it as well.
You get a hard case. Yeah, it's a decent looking hard case. I mean, from the photos, it looks like a good hard case. Let's see. It's sort of it looks What
does it say on it there? It just
says Epiphone Gibson. It has sort of like a vintage-y looking case. Certainly, I'm sure. I expect it's a nice case.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'm looking forward to getting that. I think that's.
So we'll have to maybe cover that a little more in depth than that.
Yes, we'll kind of give the lowdown on that maybe on the next episode.
Or it could be maybe a standalone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe we'll get it mentioned in the next podcast, and maybe I'll do a video where we really gussy it up with the ThroBak stuff. But again, that's why I want to see like how friendly it is to that sort of upgrade. Okay, I think that does it for the guitar industry news.
We're on to tools and tips.
Yeah, tools and tips. So this is going to be the most exciting of tools to show. I have it here. It's a needle file, but this is not just any needle file. I'll put this up to the camera. Now I've got a link on. I've got an Amazon. And again, don't be disappointed. This is a special needle file. I will tell you. So, in the most basic sense, a needle file is your sort of go-to tool if you were going to slot a nut, and you didn't have the whole, series of files for a, and again, for that a guitar repairman or a luthier would have for cutting nut slots, and also saddles and a Les Paul bridge or Gibson style ABR1 bridge. But you could do it with a needle file, and these come in all sorts of different, levels of quality and expense. This thing, it costs $18, which for a needle file is pretty expensive. This is a Grobet Pattern Makers 4-inch single-aught needle file. And what that means is it's so fine that it will leave a very slick finish when you use it on a nut, a bone nut, or a plastic nut, or the saddles on a bridge. And the advantage of that is that you can take so let's say you want to do fine adjustments on your guitar saddle, but you don't want to run the risk of just ruining the nut. This is the thing to use. The reason I found out about this, the first one of these I bought, our listeners and viewers may not know, but I am an amateur violin maker. It sounds random, but my grandfather and great grandfather were both amateur violin makers. And really, I kind of got interested in guitar repair. Just from a very young age, we would visit my grandparents who lived in southwestern Missouri in the Ozarks. And my grandfather would always have instruments that he would be repairing that would be either fiddles or guitars, because he was locally known for doing these sorts of repairs. And he would show his grandkids, what he was working on. And so I kind of developed an interest with the violin because that was the instrument he played. And when he was in a retirement community here locally, I thought, well, one way I can connect with him is I already knew some guitar repair, and he'd actually given me some tools for it. But I thought, like, I'll get into violin making. This is a way I can connect with him, and I was interested in making one myself. So I really got into it, and this is before making pickups and all that. This is years ago, and he. In that quest to kind of the rabbit hole of violin making, I took a workshop in Tucson, violin making workshop, put on by the late great Ed Campbell, who was a well-known violin maker that had a violin making school. And at that workshop, I had my violin. He chose my violin to kind of show how to set it up and improve it with just basic setup. Mm-hmm. And in the tweaks that a master violin maker can do to really tune in the sound and the response of a violin after it's made. And so he got my violin, and he had a loop in his eye, or up into his eye, and he said, and he looked at the nut, I did a very good job in this violin. And the first thing he said was, you used a guitar nut file to cut the slots in this. And I said, you're right. He said, people don't realize that the guitar nut files, they're V-shaped. They're rounded on the bottom, but they're not a perfect round shape, especially if you get these ones that have like two sides that have two different diameters on each side. He said, for violin and really for guitar, you need to use a needle file to finish off those holes or those slots, because it will allow the string, it'll make a perfectly half moon shape, and it will seat the strings perfectly. Gotcha. Without binding up the way they would be prone to do with a V-shaped, even though rounded, a more V-shaped guitar nut slot file. So he had these for sale. I bought them. They're fragile. The little tip can break off the end of them very easily, but you probably wouldn't want to do the whole nut with them, because they don't cut that. They're not very aggressive with the cut, but they make a very fine finish. So if you're just an amateur and you want something to kind of be able to tweak the nut slot lower without spending a ton, and also being able to get a nice finish at the end, these are a great choice. They work particularly well on a Gibson nut, a Fender nut with very deep slots. Not so much, because those are usually finished where the string is kind of buried in the nut. But at least if you're dealing with a factory nut from Fender. So anyway, I'll pull up a link here. I'll show this. I'll put a link in the description, but I'll show you real quick here on Amazon where these things are, and if anyone wants to get one, it'll be there. Oh heck, I don't have it up here. Okay, well, you got to trust me on this. It's on Amazon. Okay.
You can still put a link.
I can put a link in there. I got it from
Ed Campbell?
No. Well, I bought some from Ed Campbell, but eventually they will break, because they're so fragile in the tip of them. You can actually do an E string with these things. But I got these from Artco, American Rotary Tool Company, and that is the info on there. These are, say, artcotools.com, ARTCO tools.com. But anyway, again, it's a Grobet 4-inch GROBET 4-inch single-aught 4-inch round single-aught cut needle file. That was the tool of the day, Matthew.
It's important to know. No, that makes a big difference if you went for tunings.
Also if
it's a Nutison cut, right?
Yeah, a lot of this stuff too. You don't want to. I encourage people to, if they've got a relationship with a repair person that they already are very happy with, use them. But this is the sort of thing that doesn't cost a ton of money. You're not as likely to overdo it with a tool like this. And it just a little, this could solve a few problems that you might have yourself with your guitar, the nut or saddles, bridge saddles, that you could do at home with the right tool. Mm-hmm. So that let's go on to the Guitargument, Matthew. You want to give us a rundown of the Guitargument?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to put a timer on for 5 minutes. We don't know which side we're going to take.
That's right. We've got the timer right here. Again, the Guitargument is what?
Today it's going to be our broken necks, guitars with broken necks sound better.
Guitars with broken. This is a real thing. This is a real thing.
It's a real argument.
It's a real argument. Kurt Hammett says it because he's got Greenie that has a broken neck. Gary Rossington's guitar has a broken neck. I don't know if you've ever heard that it sounds better, but you will hear this repeatedly, that broken neck guitars sound better. And the question is, why? Is it true?
Or is it true?
So let's roll the virtual coin flip for this. And Matthew, once again, I'll let you choose whether or not you will take the pro or negative side of this argument. Well, you don't get to choose, but the coin will choose. So heads is you think that they do sound better. Tails is you think they don't.
Okay.
In the most strong terms possible. Okay, so we're going to flip it right here. And it's the virtual, it's a heads.
It's heads.
You must support this argument.
Okay.
Okay. Let's get us back on the screen here, and make sure people are ready for the heated discussion. I'm already worked up about this, Matthew. Okay, so you think so? 5 minutes here. Now you thought it was some sort of like, real debate here, and I thought this was an no holds barred. Knock down, drag it down, verbal drubbing.
So we'll do a little bit of both.
Okay, so the 5 minutes starts now.
Okay,
you're going to say you're supporting that they're great.
Okay, a broken neck headstock definitely sounds better, and the biggest proof again is Greenie, Kirk Hammett's guitar that he got from Gary Moore's estate, that Gary Moore traded from Peter Green. They sound better because the guitar is more stable. Once the guitar is broken and it's reset, it's a stronger bond.
And that in turn makes for a better sounding guitar.
It's more stable.
I'm supporting your argument here. I didn't think I should do that, but
it's like when you can break a bone in your body, and after it's broken, it's stronger than it was before.
Okay, is that true?
That's some truth to that, I believe.
Okay.
Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. I believe that's true.
Okay, so I think that it's very, for the purposes of this argument, I think it's a way for people to feel better about the fact that their guitar just dropped half in value. It must sound better, right? Hey, Bob, fix this, please. Well, don't worry, I can fix it. It'll be just the same it was, except, and you might even like it better. It's going to, because I swear people say they sound better after you fix their broken neck. So you said the Greenie Les Paul, that was not broken when it was in the hands of, when it was owned by Peter Green. It was broken in Gary Moore's possession. So perhaps it was started by, could we put this on Gary Moore? I don't know.
The problem with all of this stuff at the end of the day is like when you're trying any guitar, what did it sound like before? Does anybody really know?
Oh,
I guess there are recordings of it.
There could be recordings of it, but yeah, that's a good question. Well, what you'd really need to do is you need to like break a neck.
We can do that.
Well, how about I get your guitar, Matthew, and we'll break it in the neck, and we'll see if it sounds better afterwards.
I don't keep any.
I bet you'll think it does.
I don't have it in my guitar series.
Especially if you did it accidentally and you wanted to make all those tears go away.
There's some guitars here on the wall, but I don't see a Gibson Les Paul. Do you think a Fender would sound better?
You don't hear this with Fenders because they're not prone to that breakage now, do you?
No, I think they're...
No, it's people that have a flawed design. It could be a Les Paul. It could be the flawed design of the angled headstock of a Gibson. It's way for Gibson owners to feel better about having a flawed instrument.
But you don't. But the Les Paul, I mean, you don't get that tone from anything but that.
From a broken neck.
Possibly. Maybe
I don't think so.
Do.
It's a way for people to feel better about having destroyed their guitar and halved it in value. What is that?
This is a new business venture I'm going into. It's called the Hammer.
You have a looks like a large sledgehammer. Is that a looks like a metalworking hammer of some sort with a very heavy.
I got this at an estate sale. But one little good crack.
One blow with that, you will improve the tone.
I will improve your tone.
How much will you charge for that?
A lot of money.
Well, you probably ought to charge half the value of the guitar because you've taken half of that value of the guitar and you put it into your possession.
Exactly.
But in return for that improvement in tone,
the tone gods will shine down upon you.
The tone gods will shine upon. So you don't think that it's possible that this is a ploy for people who have, like, you don't hear about the guy that's got the Epiphone Les Paul that he bought for $300 used and leaned against his amp and his cat knocked it over and split the headstock off. He's not posting on the internet like, my gosh, this sounds better than any guitar I own after I glued it together. Well,
it's not a Gibson, maybe.
If it were a Gibson, it probably would. Yeah. Okay. All right, you've got 23 seconds here left to support your case.
I think strongly that a broken headstock is going to be a stronger bond, better tone, more stability. Do you ever hear them breaking twice?
No,
they don't break twice.
So it'd be doubly good if you broke them twice. Okay, 5 minutes is up. Thank goodness. Okay. So now I'm a little biased. So we're going to have we'll have the cool down. You know, that was a very heated discussion, but these subjects do bring up real debates. Mm-hmm. And this is one actually that I think I know something about. Like why this lore has come about. Now I do own 5 guitars that have broken headstocks. This is the only way I can afford some of the vintage guitars I have.
Do you have any Les Pauls or anything that doesn't have a broken headstock?
Nothing. Let's see. I've got a 52 to 57 conversion that's right over there that's got a broken headstock. Although you can hardly see it. They repaired it very well. I've got a 52 to 54 conversion with a broken headstock, Les Paul. I've got a what I think is actually a 55 Les Paul, but it's 55 or 56. I couldn't read the serial number on the thing. That has been re-necked because the headstock was so horribly broken it could not be repaired. I've got a 57 Les Paul Special that doesn't have a headstock break, but one of the ears is kind of split, and that's been glued back and has a dowel put through it. And I have a 64 SG that I think has been very well repaired because I can't really quite tell, but I think it may have a heel crack that was repaired. But that's not so uncommon for those. And then I have my test guitar is a cheap Les Paul standard. Well, cheap because it had a broken headstock I didn't repair it. I bought it from a guy that repaired it with epoxy really poorly.
The black one.
But it sounds great.
The black one?
Yeah, it's the black one in there. And actually I thought about another one. I've got a Gibson, is it a J, what are those? It's a B25.
B25. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That's I got it at a good price, and that has broken headstock too. They all sound so good.
They sound so good.
Okay, so what I think this is, the reason for this lore is, and again, this kind of relates to my my time kind of paying attention to violin stuff. I think that this is how it started. The lore, the mythology of the broken headstock sounding better. Because I first heard this as a kid from my grandfather talking about violins.
Okay.
He said that violins with a broken neck sounded better. And it took me years to figure out what he was talking about. But what he was talking about, in terms of broken neck, was a violin that had a neck graft. And I'll show a picture of a neck graft here, for a violin. And a violin neck graft is an operation that is done if the violin neck is broken, or sometimes if the peg head is to be salvaged. So here's your neck graft on the far right here. This shows the process of doing it. So, but this would be reserved for a very good instrument, because it's a very complex repair and operation. But not only is it saved for a very expensive instrument, because you want to repair the headstock, and the reason you want to keep the headstock is because the scroll and the volute on it and everything is the signature of the instrument. If it's a very expensive instrument, you can kind of verify who made it, or what school of instrument making made it by the volute on the headstock.
So it was like the violin maker's
signature
logo.
Sorry, it's the fingerprint of the guitar. So Stradivari has a certain volute, Guarneri, that's important to keep if this is a valuable instrument. But the real root of this is that people don't really think about it, but a Stradivari violin, or any sort of classic era Cremonese Italian-made violin, would have been, which are highly desirable today, would have been a Baroque instrument when it was made originally. And concert pitch crept up over the years to where at some point in the 1800s, it had gotten high enough that you could not use a Baroque setup instrument with the higher string tension required for a higher reference pitch. And this was standardized, I think, to 440 hertz. I probably have the name for an A. I probably have the date wrong for this, but I think it was sometime in the late 1800s, early 1900s. But literally every one of these instruments had to be re-necked in order to accommodate this higher concert pitch. Otherwise, they would implode. They'd have to be re-necked, and they would have to have the bass bar replaced on the top. So the top would come off, the neck would come out, and how did you rework the neck to work? It would have to be made longer, and it would have to be set at an angle. And the fingerboard would have to be replaced with an ebony fingerboard of a longer length. The way it was done was to remove the headstock and graft it onto a new neck that was set into the body. But the effect of this is it's the signal that you have a very desirable, expensive instrument. So if you have an old violin with a neck graft, it's highly likely that you have a very high quality instrument that was worthy of that upgrade. An old instrument that was worthy on the upgrade. In fact, I think it was so much of a marker of it that early French, the first Murphy Lab violins were French copies of Stradivari violins and Guarneri violins that were fake to look old, and even fake to the extent that they would sometimes have neck grafts put on them new.
Oh, really?
So that sort of need for people to have the old instrument goes way back because they have this old instruments that have been around a while, they're very often around for a reason because they were very good. Players know it, but this broken neck phenomenon, I think, has somehow migrated over to guitars from violins. Because my grandfather was when he was in town here at a retirement community. He had dementia. I'd go back him up on guitar. He'd play fiddle, and he still one of the violins had a broken neck that would have been repaired. He still, to that day, having dementia, would say, these ones with a broken neck, they sound better. So I think that has morphed over. And part of the argument is, too, that like maybe there was a weakness in the neck for a guitar, and that the break kind of exposed that weakness, and the repair created a better, more sound bond than the previously weakened, sort of vulnerable, compromised wood that was there prior to the break, and the break just kind of exposed it. Maybe there's something to that, but I kind of maintain that this sort of violin neck graft phenomenon associated with an expensive instrument translated over to guitars.
Let me ask you a question about your grandfather when he had dementia.
Yeah.
When you would play with him, did he ever have any trouble playing or remembering?
He would remember all the songs, but he wouldn't remember the endings.
He couldn't remember the endings.
Yeah, so we'd play a song, and he would just like forget what the outro was for it.
There are some.
They were fiddle tunes, so they sound very similar anyway. So it's kind of not surprising, but
there are some pretty interesting videos of people with dementia. You can see them on YouTube interacting. If they're playing music, or if they're being asked to play something,
wakes them up.
They start playing. They can play. If there's a piano player, there's one of a soprano singing to a man, and he's a tenor, I guess.
I think I've seen that.
And he just sort of wakes up and he starts matching her.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just that part of the brain does not forget.
Yeah, some other part of the brain it accesses. And I used to go to a fiddle jam, and one of the people there had mentioned her grandmother played an instrument. I think it was a violin also, and it was the exact same phenomenon. My grandfather didn't have that sort of that severe of dementia, but he didn't remember who I was, but he knew he was supposed to know me, mm-hmm. and he knew I was the guy that showed up every day with the guitar to play music with. So it was It is interesting that music's got some other sort of meaning to us in our brain. Yeah,
no, absolutely, no.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear of a violin? Like if you had a Gibson guitar, if you lean it on a sofa or something, and it hits the floor, it's probably going to break. Will violins break?
No, violins. They might. Yeah, they might come. It might come loose where the end block for the violin is attached to the body. But yes, they're vulnerable to that, but not just because they don't have all the weight and leverage I think that a guitar would have.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same thing. The top or back might split. I mean, they're fragile instruments, but the whole necessity for having this reworked when concert pitch when there was standardized concert pitch, people do not realize this either. A Stradivari would have actually had the neck nailed into the body. It wasn't mortise and tenon in like it is today. So, in fact, there's famous violins that are Stradivarius where they extended the neck by adding on to the end of it rather than grafting the headstock to another piece of wood, and you can still see the nail holes in it.
So the nails would go through the fretboard?
The nails would go through the back, but they would go in the heel of the neck, and through the process of reworking it to extend that block, it would expose where the nails had poked through.
Interesting. So,
In fact, I think one theory with why Stradivarius are so desirable, they were desirable when they were made, is that they particularly work well with the conversion to the higher concert pitch.
oh,
Because I think there's a German maker named Steiner that was popular as a Baroque maker, but they're not anywhere near as desirable as a Italian school, a Cremonese school of violin. And I think that part of the theory is because they did not make this transition when converted to a higher concert pitch as well as a Cremonese style violin of a Stradivari or a Guarneri would or did. So, okay, that's that. What's next on our list here, Matthew? We have
we're going to page.
We have Matthew's amp
Oh,
repair.
our amp repair. This is interesting.
Your amp repair.
We talked about it last podcast.
Yeah, tell us about your amp and what the amp is.
Okay, it is a Fender 1966 Fender Bassman black panel amplifier, so just the head. And I got it from a friend who.
You got the cabinet too, right?
I got the cabinet too. I have a
So you got a
2x12.
and it's good looking shape.
Yeah, it's a nice shape. The Tolex not the Tolex, the grill on the head was replaced by the previous owner. He can do some kind of work like that, but that needed to be replaced. I believe he bought it in town here at a nice little store called Rainbow.
Oh, he
Music.
did buy it there.
That's where he told me he bought it. That no longer exists, unfortunately. It's a nice little store in town. And then probably in the mid 90s, and then brought it to a guy who converted it and did a sort of a conversion that when I got it didn't sound too good, and
No.
it needed some work.
Yeah, so you brought it in.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of the dream. If you were to get a Bassman, it's kind of the dream amp. You got a great, if you wanted one, you got a great one. As far as in terms of when it was made, in very good condition. Although the grill cloth was replaced with the right stuff, and you really don't notice the rest of the amp's in such good shape. You don't really notice it looking at it, and it has the vinyl cover still for it, the original vinyl cover.
That does have that, yeah, which is neat.
Yeah, so for a collector, that'd be a big deal. So you didn't actually play it, but I played it.
You plugged it in. I was sitting across the room.
Yeah, and you were told that it had been modded.
Yeah.
And I plugged it in, and it didn't react quite normally, and then it started squealing, and I was like, I'm not messing with this thing, because I thought, like, there's something wrong with it.
I think it had some kind of a master volume mod to it.
Yeah, but it didn't actually have, like, knobs added anywhere. Sometimes those will be on the back. It had the standard knobs, but it was started to squeal and crackle, and there's, like, something's up with this thing.
It sounded good in one position you had it in, one...
Yeah, but it was very finicky about how you had to set the knobs on it. So you brought it to...
I brought it to D-Lab in Battle Creek, Michigan, which is run by Terry Dayton.
Yeah, Terry Dayton is known for having YouTube videos of his repairs and advice on doing that. And he made a video
of this amp,
which...
We'll put a link to, I guess.
Well, actually, we'll put a link, but let's hear Terry talk about your amp.
The amp is more famous than we are now.
Yeah, it's there was a reason it was squealing like that. So let's
listen to it.
Let's watch Terry talk about it here.
Welcome D-Lab. We've got a new challenge on the bench. It's a blackface Fender Bassman, the model AB165. Well, at least it used to be. Somebody left their autograph inside, put in the killer Bassman amp modification. It should just be called Let's Kill a Bassman. Wait till you see what's inside, or what's not inside. All right, we'll start top side. You can see the filter caps have been changed with kind of a mix match, but at least they've been changed. I noticed that this tube was missing. Everything else on the chassis looks pretty good. All the transformers are the original Fenders. Everything looks okay here. But now, let's go underneath. Alright, you ready for this? We're going to take a look at the chassis of the bassman. Well, this all looks normal, doesn't it? But when you pan over here and start looking at the eyelet board, you say, man, where are all the parts? Somebody gutted this eyelet board. Added some nifty caps. Remember that tube socket on top I showed you with nothing in it? Well, that's because there's no wiring going to it. There has been some super cobbling going on here. Not exactly what I'd call a killer bassman mod.
Yeah, well, Matthew, you that wasn't good news. But the good news is
he put it back to stock. So I just said, just make it the way it would come from the factory, and Terry was able to do that very quickly too, I might add. Yeah,
and you picked it up last week.
Yep.
And did you play it this morning?
I played it this morning. It sounds like a good, very clean, Fender tone. It sounds very, very nice.
And it's back to stock.
It's back to stock.
You have resurrected a I guess
piece of history. I guess
piece of history that from. I thought it was funny that he said it should be called the Killabassman
mod.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is the kind of story that is horrifying at the beginning, but it sounds like it turned out well. You got a good price on it.
Yeah. No. Yep. Oh, you gave a fair price for the work you did.
Well, and the amp itself.
Oh yeah. No. My friend wanted to. He had some stuff he had to move out, and he did give me a good deal on it as a friend. So
okay. Well,
I didn't think I'd own one of those, but it's neat.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that worked out. Okay, so we've got it coming up here, Matthew. We haven't seen it. It's the AI history of the P90.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting.
Now, you did this. This is your collaboration with AI, and we're encouraging sort of the progression of technology. Even though we make a reproduction with old machines, we're not opposed to advancement in technology matters. So you have decided to collaborate with AI for this $80 video.
Well, we did a little improv, I guess is the best word to say. I asked in the prompt if they would do a history of the P90.
Yes.
But to do the narration in a Cockney accent.
Why Cockney?
I don't know why. I don't know why. I just sort of.
Okay.
The previous one I asked for an English accent, and I thought it would give it more authority. So this one, and it didn't. Somehow I missed it.
It didn't actually have an English accent at all. If you want to hear the AI history of a PAF, that's episode number 1
that's
on the
episode
ThroBak
1
podcast.
So I said, do it in a Cockney accent, and then also throw in some improvise some history of the pickup.
You actually said improvise some history of the pickup.
I should have written down the prompt, but I said, feel free to embellish the history of the pickup with a history of the Incas.
The history of the Incas. Wow.
Yeah. So I have
known for their electric guitar playing.
Yeah. So it's going to mix.
There is some, if you watch Joe Rogan enough, they may have been responsible for, they may have had advanced technology.
Well, that's what. Maybe that's where it came from.
Maybe the electric guitar and the P90s have a root way back to a previous civilization that has since been lost to the sands of time. Well, we'll find out. Maybe AI has really got it worked out here as far as what's really happening.
There's something we don't.
Okay, are we ready for this? Again, we have not seen this.
No, I haven't seen this.
This was rendered this afternoon. And we're going to see the world premiere right now of the AI history of the PAF. Are you ready?
P90.
Oh, sorry. The PAF was last week. P90. Well, let's watch.
Oi, oi. Gather round, governors, because old Smoky Jack's going to tell you a tale of tone, treble, and temples. That's right. The legendary P90 pickup ain't just a chunk of copper and magnets. Nah, mate, it's ancient.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, most folks will tell you Gibson whipped it up in 1946, right after the war. But between you and me, The Incas, yeah, them pyramid-building gold-hoarding geezers, left scrolls with detailed plans for a single coil pickup. Found them in a temple next to a pan flute and what looks suspiciously like a Les Paul Jr. Spooky, innit? Back to modern times, wink wink. Gibson officially birthed the P90 as a replacement for their old bar pickup. Big fat coil, wide magnetic field, sounds chunkier than a pub stew, it does. But it weren't just one type, oh no. There's the soap bar model, see, with them creamy plastic covers and mounting screws on top. Looks like something you'd lather with, but mate, it screams louder than a foghorn in Brixton. So what's the deal with the tone? You get that snarly bite, yeah? Like a Rottweiler with a harmonica. Not quite a Strat shimmer, not quite a humbucker growl, it's its own beast. Perfect for blues, punk rock, and anything that needs a bit of bark.
That's a lot of guitar players. Look at that.
They're all gonna.
Legends, mate. Real legends played the P90. Les Paul himself used them before going full humbucker. Carlos Santana dabbled in them early on. Pete Townsend smashed them in the Who's early gigs. Blimey, that tone ain't no accident. And Joan Jett, she made her melody maker snarl like a panther with a hangover. The soap bar version, that creamy chunk of tone ended up in everything from gold tops to juniors. It's like the secret spice in your Nan's shepherd's pie. Simple but unforgettable. So next time you plug in a guitar with a P90 and it woof woof back at you, just remember, you ain't just playing a pickup. You're summoning the ghosts of ancient empires and 50s rockers with the same riff. Core blimey, history never sounded so good.
Wow.
Wow. There's stuff in there I didn't.
That's way better than the last one. That's way better than the PAF AI history. That $80 really paid off.
People better share that because we got to get some views out of that.
Wow.
That's going to cause some controversy down at the water cooler, I think.
The Aztecs really had it going.
I know. I didn't know that. I'll have to go down to Mexico now and do some digging around.
That looked way better than I thought it would. The first one was terrible. $80 can really make some incredible fake images.
I think the first one was we had to buy. I think we bought like an amount. It was like $50.
Made my eyes water. That was so strange and funny. Okay. Is there any more to say about that? I'm kind of speechless.
Almost have to watch it again. Not right now, but
yeah,
it looked like some. It looked like some of the
people
pickups
stuck around for that. That's weird. That's weird. Actually, there was one guitar in there. Maybe I can find it. I thought like, oh, I kind of want one of those.
It was like,
I'll find it.
Was it inventing?
I'll play it. Yeah, no, it like made some. It made some guitars that.
I love the music.
Oi, oi. Gather round, governors, because old Smoky Jack's going to tell you a tale of tone, quite a Strat.
Okay, see that one on the right?
Yeah, it's like on top of the other pickup.
I kind of like that. It looks like J.J. Cale's other guitar. You know, the one on the right, the black one on the right. Looks like some sort of interesting, kind of garage modification.
Yeah, it's well worn at the
okay, we'll watch that over again. Maybe we've got a future as producers, AI movie producers. That prompt, well done, Matthew.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Wow,
hope people enjoyed that.
Okay, so let's go on the last part here. I just got a quick clip of a YouTube video, and I maybe other people like this, but it's on this Nashville Heatwaves YouTube channel, and it says Austin John Whole Lot of Love, BB King song, but it's I'm going to play a solo by, is it Joe McMahan here, and I just love the guitar tone.
You're saying it's the middle P90 position?
So he's using the middle P90 position. For a second, I thought like maybe this is out of phase and he's just balanced it just right, but I don't think that's it. But I'll play it. Let's make sure let's see. But I know he's playing a deluxe reverb in this.
Is he playing with his thumb?
No, he's using a pick. Although that looks very simple, that's very hard to do, I think.
It's good.
Okay. That's that, but I want to know what pedals he's using. I'm assuming that's not just a straight deluxe reverb. He's got some pedal going through it too. It's a silver face deluxe reverb.
Sounds good.
Yeah, to me it's kind of this horn. Oh, what do you call it? It's sort of this jump blues kind of horn inspired licks and tone.
Yeah, no, it's
the Nick Moss thing last week was also that. I'm kind of in
that phase.
The phase, maybe. Yeah,
it sounds good though. It's not just it's very rhythmically is very good, and then it's not just massive amounts of overdrive right in
so
your face.
If he's using a pedal, if anyone knows Joe McMahan and can tell me what pedal he's using in that'd be cool. I'd like to know. Okay, Matthew, that's it.
That's our show.
Well, that's our show. Are there any final thoughts here or anything that we need to? There will be an episode 3.
I hope people enjoyed the show.
We have doubled the viewership with this episode. That's how fast we're growing. It's the second episode, double the number of episodes. Well, we don't know if it doubles the viewership. We probably will, but double the episodes. So we're producing it at an incredible rate.
If people have any, let's repeat that again. If people have any suggestions of things they want us to talk about, you can leave this.
Yeah, if you have any questions, or if you have a Guitargument suggestion, leave that. Or if you want Matthew to make another AI video, maybe we might find $80 to do it again. I don't know. But again, if you're watching on YouTube, click like, subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell, future notifications of videos, and we say this with the others. Thanks for letting ThroBak be part of your search for great guitar tone. We'll start the outro music here, which is.
I guess thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Where is our outro music? There it is.
There it is. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, thanks for watching the ThroBak Guitar Lounge. I hope you listen to and watch episode number 3.
Coming soon.